Sorry to disturb you. There is no sound on the Zoom.
Ah, there we go. Hello, everybody online. You have not been listening. Thank you for telling me. It's very sweet of you. Okay, so here we go. And I was just going over the commission a little bit. I was saying our first objection that we went over, since you guys missed it online there, was talking about how our clients object because they want to pay less commission. So in response to that, I was showing the first objection there on the first slide I put up that you guys were reading. And I was saying, you know, we respond to them by saying, if you can't defend your own worth for your commission, how are they supposed to defend the worth of your property? I'm here, I'm defending my own worth. I'm a good negotiator. I can defend the worth of your property. Just as I'll negotiate for myself, I'll negotiate for you, right? I have that skill. So then we go to this commission slide and we say, okay, at the beginning of the day, we're going to start with 5%, right? 2.5, I'm not going to touch. 2.5 is going to go to the co-op. Why? Because agents out there, if there's 2-3 homes in the area that are available, they're going to show the others over ours because we're offering less commission, unless their client specifically insists on seeing that one property. So I don't touch this 2.5 side. On this side, we have the other 2.5. Now they don't understand. They may understand that, okay, 2.5 commission, a lot of people are offering 1%. They don't understand what our splits are necessarily at the brokerage level, right? So I usually turn to my client and say, okay, so now we have my 2.5 to play with. So of my 2.5, I split 1.25, 1.25 with my brokerage and myself, right? From my side, I'm going to take off 0.25 and do the 1%, just like that other realtor said to you. No problem, I'll do 1%. Okay, so instead of ending up with, we know what those other agents are saying is they'll do it for a total of 1% on their side, ending up with 3.5 in total. By explaining it to the clients like this, very often I walk away with 4.75. Do you guys get the math on that, right? You get how I got to that? Okay, so 5%, right? You're splitting it in half, 2.5 and 2.5, right? 2.5 goes to co-op. I'm talking about my 2.5 now as list, right? Now I go to my client, my 2.5, I'll tell you, I split 1.25 with my brokerage, okay? So I have my side that's 1.25. I'll reduce the commission 0.25 for you, and I'll do it for 1%, right? Because I'm getting that 1% there. 1.25 is going to my brokerage, 1.25 is coming to me. I'll take the 0.25 off, and I'll also do it for 1%, just like the guy before who you interviewed told you. Great. So when I take only 0.25 off, I'm now walking in with 4.75 on my commission, right? And I'll show you a lot of the deals I bring in, it's 4.75 because this is the way I'm explaining it to my clients. And if you walk them through it, they see and they're like, okay, 1%. The guy before said 1%, but didn't break it down. You're breaking it down, showing them, yeah, I'll do it for 1% as well, right? You're fighting for more commission. It's just a tool to help you. And even if you reduce further from that and they say, oh, well, if that guy's offering 1%, can't you do better? Say, oh, you know, I've got a lot of expenses in photography. I'm going to stage your home. Maybe I can do it for 0.75. You're still walking away with 4.5. You're not reducing it to that 3.5 commission right off the bat. You know what I mean? Always remember at the end of the day, I know a lot of people out there and it's really cutthroat and you're trying, but try to get more than the 3.5%. Nowadays, especially with COVID, our presence online is so important. We're spending a lot more money on our photography, 3D tours, walkthroughs, drone photography. We're trying to push it online. We're spending a lot more money. Staging is such a big thing with flip houses nowadays. You know, you have to have it beautifully staged, which costs money. So at the end of the day, try and fight for a little bit for your commission. You don't want to walk away with 3.5 for every deal. Again, like I say, at the end of the day, I wouldn't walk away if they were insisting on 1%. At the end of the day, I would take a 1%. And it's because you have so much more benefit at the end of the day, because you have your sign up on the lawn, you have your advertising for free sitting there the whole time you have that listing, you have buyers calling you on that listing, and you become a name in that neighborhood, right? People get to see your name every time you're driven by, right? And if you don't take the 1%, that next guy who said he would is going to take it anyway. So money better in your pocket than that guy, right? So I know it's tough to take it. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, 1%, but hopefully that tool will help you try and at least negotiate for a little bit more. Hopefully it'll help you guys. So that's why I keep on going back to that site 100 times.
I told you last week.
Sorry?
I told you before yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this.
You have to try.
Yeah,
I know, because it's tough, especially like, you know, like I always tell people if I do 1%, if they're going to refer me, please don't tell the next person that I did. I said, I'll do it for you, but please don't tell the next person I did, because it's not a thing that I want to become. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a good agent. We're doing good photography. We're doing good work. My negotiation skills are good. I'm good at pushing a good bidding war and pushing the price up for a record sales. Why am I working for 1% at the end of the day, right? This is my full-time job, right? So it's just a good way to help you guys try and get more at the end of the day. All right. So the next objection, let me know how many times you guys have heard these. I have to keep my promise to the agent which I originally bought the home, right? They say, well, I bought with so-and-so. I'm going to sell with so-and-so, right? You say, that's great. I can appreciate your loyalty. And that is a quality I respect in people. So I'm curious, let me ask you this. Has there ever been a time when you decided to buy something or do something and a friend said, hey, no problem. When you need help, I can do it. And in the end, because you didn't check around, you didn't really get what you wanted. Have you ever been there before? Yes. Well, I think you might find that this time is just like the last time. And with that in mind, I'm sure you can see the importance of having me over to give you a second opinion. That wouldn't hurt anything, would I? Would it? Sorry. So this objection is a good one because everyone's always saying, oh no, I'm going to use the agent I used before. They were good. They helped me buy this house. So I'm going to use them again. And very often, especially with the second opinion part, I go, that's really great. You want to use that agent that you used before. They were good. They purchased your home for you. Did you get a good price for it? I try to find different things, but I always say to them, I have good record in this neighborhood. Whenever I'm going to my listing appointments, I'm going to bring, I always talk to you guys about using the strength of your brokerage. We're 120 agents strong here. You're allowed to use anything in that neighborhood, right? Because we can advertise our own listings. Bring that as your arsenal with you and say, that's really great, but look at all these listings I have in this area. Hi. All these listings I have in this area that we sold. We have a good track record. My office is, 120 agents strong. There's a good chance that we can really get this sale sold for you. You know what I mean? So please let me come in and at least give you a second opinion on this property, right? Okay, I have seen this marketing plan from many different agents. What makes yours different? So I hope you guys are doing your CMAs for your listing appointments. You're bringing in your strategy of how you're going to market the property, right? So this is what they say here for the Mike Ferry. I'd level shift. You know what? You're right. There are only a certain number of things that an agent can do to get a home sold. And I think the final decision is not what is not based on what I do differently. I think the real issue is how you feel about the agent representing you. So tell me, what qualities are you looking for in an agent? Do you see how I shifted from what do you do different to what qualities are you looking for? So you're going to want to tell them that you're results driven. Definitely bring your track record if you've got a lot of things. But like I say again and again, bring comparables from the office to show what you can do. But have your marketing plan ready in your CMA. Definitely tuck that in. I know I've shown you guys, I'll stop the share here for a second and I'll go back to the CMA. You've got to include in your CMA, and I'm going to go over it again and again, the CMA. It's going to be a topic that you guys will get sick of hearing, but I want you guys to be really on point to close your listing appointments. So in the CMA, I always include my listing plan of action, right? This is this one again. Where did it go? Might be in my email. I know I had it in here twice, but my listing plan of action is just like this. I had uploaded it wrong when I did the CMA there, right? But I always tell them my objectives and my listing plan of action. So it's two different things. In my objectives here, I tell them how I'm going to expose their property, how I'm going to communicate with them, right? But in my listing plan of action, I tell them, look, I'm going to put it up on MLS, right? But I'm also a RE/MAX agent. RE/MAX agents are viewed 3-to-1 online. If you're Google searching and you say, I want a condo for sale in Scarborough, use the strength of your brand, right? You guys are all really good top brand agents, right? We're paying to be part of this franchise. Use it in your strength to close your listing appointments. Tell them, hey, you know what? If someone Google searches, a RE/MAX agent's listing is going to come up before a lot of other brands. Why? Because RE/MAX, we all know, we pass by 100 billboards and bus ads. They also do a lot of SEO marketing online, right? So we can have that first page annihilation when people do Google searches and everything. Tell your clients, my marketing plan is very strong, right? So you can tell them you're going to do that. You can tell them any other thing you're going to do. Just don't promise things you're not going to do. So I always encourage agents to put up your just listed flyers when you have a listing, because you're going to bombard the neighborhood and let them know what you're doing. Just sold flyers when you just sold something, because that'll pique a lot of neighbors' interest and they'll say, oh, they sold that in the area. They might call you to say, how much did it sell for if they're interested, or maybe come and give me an evaluation of my property as well. Right? So it's important to use those strengths and tell them what your marketing plan is, not only level shift like they're suggesting here. Okay. So go down to the next one. Why is your price so much lower than the other agents we have talked to? This is another big one, right? I mean, they have comps that show higher prices than yours. So everybody wants to sell their house for high at the end of the day. Now, as long as you're doing your research properly, you're going to realize at the end of the day, a lot of people will say this to you. There are a million other agents who just go in there and promise the world. If the person wants 1.1 and their house is only worth 9, they'll say, yeah, and put it up. I caution you guys that it's really hard. It's hard on your image to take these kind of listings. You really want to educate your clients properly what's going on. So one thing is in my CMA, I don't know if you noticed on the first page I brought up, my first thing I say is I never lie to you, because I always go and I tell my clients the proper prices. So if someone says this to me, let's read what they say here and then we'll go over what I say. It is kind of confusing, isn't it? I mean, you interview 4 agents and you get 4 different prices, right? You're probably thinking, why did this person come in with such a low price? Doesn't he or she want to get our listing? Well, my answer is yes and no. You see, there's a big difference in the way that I operate and the way that most agents operate. Most agents manipulate the computer to show figures that they think you want to hear. Well, most agents don't get much business. Getting your listing makes them feel like they're accomplishing something. Whereas I, on the other hand, sell homes nonstop all day long. Do you want to know why? I tell people like you the truth. Did you know that only however many percent of homes, you can grab a percentage of on TREB board? Monthly, they have the TREB Market Watch. You guys ever pull that up and look at it, right? That are listed for sale actually sell. It's a very simple reason. Do you want to hear it? Most agents don't have many listings, therefore convincing you to list your home with them becomes very important. That's why they'll tell you whatever price you want to hear, even if they know 6 months from now you'll not be happy with them, because no buyers will look at a house that's overpriced. Does that make sense? I always remind people, I go, everybody has access to online stats now. I go, you have to be very careful. If you're listing low, you're going to push that bid war and sell at market value. If you're listing high, you're going to stay longer on the market and eventually negotiate and sell for market value. If you list right at market value, you're going to be the average days on market, whatever it was for the TREB stats that month, right? Because there's a reason, especially now. It's not like before when an overpriced home, people could swindle and, 2 people could get together and push the price higher than the neighborhood sales. Everything's online. All our clients have access to House Sigma and Zolo and Zillow and all those things online, right? So they're looking at all these stats on a constant basis too. So even if we're trying to push our clients very often, you'll see that they know quite a lot when it comes to the sales, especially since TREB made the solds available. That was a big thing. You guys remember, like about 2 years ago now, when TREB said, okay, fine, we're going to release.
After the COVID, right? Right before.
It was right
COVID,
before, right before it, shortly before it. And then all these sites like House Sigma and that were able to put the sold stats online, right? That was huge, right? So anyways, we'll go back to the objection. I always tell them, I go, you know what? I could tell you all day long that, yeah, okay, I'm going to get your listing and I can tell you that you'll list. Yeah, sure, we'll sell for 1.1. But there's a couple different reasons I don't want to do that. A, you're going to sit really long on the market because we talked about those overpriced listings. They sat, and you bring the stats with them if you want to show them. These that were overpriced, they stayed 69, 50, 40 days in the market. What is your motivation, right? Do you just want to try to get this price? Do you not mind having showings for 40, 50 days, 2 months ongoing, or do you want to get your house sold? If you want to get your house sold, here are the comparables. I'm informing you of what the proper price of the property is. And so I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to always tell you the truth. And that's because I don't want my sign up on your lawn without a sold on it. Because it's my full-time job. I go here and I come here to work and do a good job for you, not just to put your house up and have it sit and hope that a buyer will come through, right? So while those agents might tell you 1.1, I'm telling you the truth is now you're going to get $1,040,000 for it, for instance. Yeah.
So sometimes I get this question where like basically you're telling us to sort of ask them, like, what's the motivation? Like, do you care if it sits on the market and you just want that price, or do you want to sell it fast and get out of it? Like, a lot of the times they'll ask us like, okay, what do you suggest is the better fit, right? So it's like, what should we say?
You have to have your finger on the pulse of the market. It depends what markets you're in. So March, April, May, June, we know what are we doing with properties everywhere, even up in cottage country, even with the little condo. It was bidding wars, bidding war. It was hard to find a listing without a bidding war in it. Now we see that sort of slowing down a little bit, but the inventory is really low, which is still helping push the sales, right? So you have to have your finger on the pulse of the market to direct your client what to do. Another thing is, if I have a client who's really insisting on a higher price, I always have the quick conversation with them at the beginning of the day. And I say to them, fine, I will take the listing. I've educated it. You only get 1,040,000. You want to list for 1.15. What we're going to do is we're going to put it up and we're going to give it a week, 2 max, because I don't want my sign sitting up there forever because I want to get more sales from this neighborhood, right? We're going to put up a week or 2 max. We're going to communicate and see how many buyers came through and how many offers came through. If not very many, we're going to do a price adjustment at that point, right? But I always warn them, I go, it's only because you're insisting that you would like this higher price. Keep in mind, when you put a new listing up, you have that excitement. When people see price changes, they go, why isn't the house selling? What was wrong with it? Why didn't, is there something wrong with it? You get those calls, right? You go a little stale on the market. So you want to advise your client that that may happen if we go with their strategy, right? But again, I don't very often walk out of appointments without taking a listing, right? Because anything's possible at the end of the day. And sometimes clients just need to go through that process. It's our job just to try to educate them to do its best, because we know that if we list for this, it'll sell. We know if we're listing for what they want, it might go stale, it might sit longer on the market, right? All right, I'll sell my home when the value goes up. So this is part of the reason why when I was attending Mike Ferry's seminars, I wasn't so thrilled. I don't like his style. So he says if a prospect has no reason to sell their house, then that is a condition. You can't overcome the condition. I disagree. Okay, so I'll tell you what I say to my clients. I'll sell my home and the values go up. I say, why? Unless I have an investor who is cashing out. This is the only reason I won't push this objection. If it's a person who's selling to downgrade, or selling to upgrade, if you sell high, you're going to buy high. If you sell low, you're going to buy low, right? I understand you think things are going to sell a lot more in September, but think about it. When you sell your home, you turn around to buy, you're also going to purchase for a lot more, right? So once you bring that logic to their head, they kind of think about it. Like I say, the only people I don't give this advice to is my investors. And I'm good to my clients. I won't push them to list a property if I think it's really low and I think it's going to go higher in a month or 2 if they list, right? Because you've got an investor who put their money in and they really want to cash out. The last thing you want is those investor flip clients to realize that 2-3 months from now, they could have got $100,000 more and be angry with you that you didn't give them good advice, because those investor clients are the ones that are going to come back and back, because they're the house flippers, the builders, the renovators. Those are the ones that are going to come back and back to you. So don't advise your clients to sell low, because they're not turning around necessarily to buy low right and then and there, unless they're going to take their very next flip project, right? But they've invested that money to get their most bang out. Investor clients, I might make them wait a bit till the market's a little more hot, right? How much advertising will you do? Because I want a lot of advertising, right? I understand that advertising is a concern. Are you familiar with the difference between passive and active marketing? Passive marketing is holding open houses, sending out flyers, and advertising in the newspaper. You see, those methods are passive and you can't predict if they'll work or not. Yet agents that don't want to work at getting your home sold will insist that they have sold many homes this way. And you know what? I agree, you can get a home sold that way, but you can't guarantee it. Do you understand what I mean by passive? Basically sitting around to wait to get the home sold. So that, people just throw up listings and they sit and they cross their fingers and hope and pray. So active marketing, what do they consider active marketing? So I talk about sending out your just listed and your just sold flyers, right? You have to tell your clients things that are going to combat that. And again, they have to be things that you're really going to do. Like, I believe in 6 degrees of separation. Very often when I get a listing, I tell my clients, I'm going to call your whole neighborhood. Or if I get it in the building, I'm going to call your whole building, right? I'm going to say, hey, I have a listing up. And people go, oh, no, I don't want to sell my house. I said, no. I want to know if you have any family, friends, someone, because 6 degrees of separation, they're going to know somebody that might want to move into the building. It gives you the chance to double end your listing, right? Because you're calling around and they go, oh, my friend, yes, she really want to move in this building, or my son really wants to purchase one, or, I know somebody who has somebody who wants to, so it'll give you a good chance to double end it, but it's also very active marketing. So you want to have some things in mind that you're going to do for your clients that's really active, right? I'm going to door knock your neighborhood. It's nice weather out now. You can go door knock the neighborhood, hand out flyers to the neighbors that you see out mowing lawns. A lot of people are out there gardening, right? I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you're too busy. You have so many listings and we want someone that can give us the attention we deserve. Anybody ever told you this? So I can appreciate that. And you probably haven't had the chance to think of the advantage I have over the fellow agents in town. You see, the more listings I have, the more signs I have on the street, the more signs I have on the street, the more calls I get for buyers in this area. And of course, most of those buyers don't necessarily buy the house they call about, and many of them will be very interested in your house. Can you see the advantage of listing with an agent that has 20 to 30 signs? I wish we had 20 to 30 signs on the street working for you, or even in a neighborhood, 20 to 30 signs. That'd be stellar. But yeah, people will say this, especially if they see you selling a lot in a neighborhood, they kind of level shift. They kind of think, oh, no, that agent's too busy to take care of this. So they want to choose an agent who's not so busy and get dedicated time. So with that objection, I'm just going to tell them, look, I have lots of buyers calling me off of that listing sign, and they're not everybody can buy that one house, or maybe it's not their style. So I'm going to definitely introduce them to your house as well, right? I want to find a house before I put it on the market. I get asked this question a lot. Should I list first? Should I sell first? What should I do for my, or sorry, should I buy first? What should I do for my client? So what do you guys normally tell your clients for advice?
Sell first,
Why?
because you have, that way, you know, you're secure with the money and you can afford, and then you have lots of time to look around what you need, you know?
Right.
And you can pick and choose which property you like, because you know what you can afford from the money you got from your home.
Yeah.
Plus the money you have saved in the bank, and you know what you know, if you want to.
That's a good seasoned agent answer. I know a lot of people say, oh, but what if I turn around? Yeah, what if I turn around and I can't find what I want? You have options. You can rent for a couple months. You can even rent for a year, right? Whatever you want to do. But most of the time, if they're buying in a good season, there's inventory on there, unless they're looking for an extremely specific home. That's the only way that I'll let my clients purchase first, right? Because if they're looking for something in a very specific town with not a lot of inventory, and they really want a 2-story and it's mostly bungalows in that area, then it's definitely a difficult task, right? But generally, if they say, I'm going to sell my condo and I'm going to buy a bungalow in Scarborough, well, there's a million bungalows in Scarborough. I'm pretty confident. Just make sure you put a longish closing on it. But I agree that it's the safer option. So when my clients tell me I want to buy a house before I put mine on the market, I always advise them. I say, it's, in my experience, a safer option to sell first, because you know how much money you have in hand, you know what closing date you need to coordinate for your purchase. And if you put a 60 or a 90-day closing on your house, you have plenty of time. We could shop for an entire month, find something and put a 60-day close on that and match up the closing date. Whereas when you purchase, maybe the buyer coming for your house now might not match up that closing date. You know, you might not get the money you're expected. Now you're scrambling for your purchase, right? It's just, I find a safer way, right? So you don't handle homes in our price range. So this is an ambitious statement, because I know a lot of our agents, especially in my office before, they say, you know, instead of doing 15 condo transactions in a year, I'm going to go for bigger homes. And they try to get into this market, and because they're not very well known, that neighborhood hasn't seen their signs, they're door knocking ritzier neighborhoods, they come with this objection a lot. So if you guys are trying to like kind of shift up your game and maybe, you know, tone it back and do less transactions, but still make the same money, right? You're going to get this objection, right? Because there's a reason why those areas are annihilated by certain agents, because they're a name. There's just a little mindset that those are the luxury agents handling the luxury homes, right? So if you're trying to do this, this is a good objection to cover. You don't handle homes in our price range. You're right. I don't sell a lot of homes in your price range, and that's exactly why I'm here tonight. I usually sell homes in a lower price range. And what I find is after I sell my clients' homes, many of them move up to your price range. They're selling to upgrade. Therefore, it only makes sense that the next logical step for me is to start to sell in your price range as well. Because why not? I have all these clients. You're right. I'm only selling $1.3 million bungalows, and I want to jump into this neighborhood where there's $2 and $2.5 million houses. My clients with the equity who have just sold their house are looking for these types of homes, right? So if you guys are like finding you're really tired and doing 20, 25 transactions a year and you want to go for the bigger bang, this is a good one to cover that objection. How's everybody online so far? You guys good? You can hear me? I was asking, sorry, it was on mute earlier. I was actually, let me just stop the share for a second if I can see you guys' faces. I was asking everybody earlier if they had any specific objections that they wanted me to handle, because I mean, we're already 20 minutes left for this, and I don't want to just keep on going over objections that don't necessarily address specific problems that you guys are having. Yeah, I can give you guys a copy of the slides, no problem. I can email these out to you so you can have them. So what do you guys, anybody online have anything that's something that they keep on hitting as an objection that I can try and troubleshoot? You guys good online? What about you guys here? Anything that's specific that when you've gone for your appointment, you're like, oh, I can't get over this objection. What to say to these clients? You know, you guys are landing all your listing appointments?
What if they want to list it themselves?
List it
Like,
themselves,
it's not- You're
FSBO.
not up against another realtor, you're up against
Mhm.
like a for sale by owner.
For sale by owner. So that's a good one. So for sale by owners, I always remind them, there's a lot of legalese in our clauses, right? And what you're doing is that I think the stat is only 1% of homes are sold by for sale by owners. And I think I'm going to screw up the other stat, but it's quite a high percentage, 95 or 98% of it they're always coming with an agent. So what you're doing to yourself is you're selling one of the biggest commodities you have to sell with no protection from a buyer who's coming with an agent who's protecting them, who's protecting their best interests. It doesn't make any sense to you. They say, no, you bring me a buyer, I'll give you 3%. Okay, but now I'll take the 1% to try to close my FSBO. So for 0.5 more percent, 3.5 for me to handle this transaction for you, you're gonna sell $1 million worth of something and not have someone who does this every day protect your best interests, right? When the buyer is coming with an agent, that buyer is not protecting your interest. That buyer is protecting the client is the buyer to that agent, right? So you've got to make the FSBO realize what they're doing, right? I will tell them other things that a lot of other agents say, like, you're gonna get so tired, you're gonna get a million phone calls, you have to deal with all your appointments scheduled, be there for every single time somebody wants to come and view your property. And you'll find that if you call FSBOs after they've been up for about a month, this is why a FSBO cold call is a good call to make after it's been up for a little while, because very often they're really tired. They're tired of doing our job because they have other full-time jobs. So now they're getting all these calls, they're trying to arrange appointments, they have agents talking through their home, they have people knocking on their door, you know what I mean? And they're really tired of it. It's a good time to try and nab the FSBO, but you definitely want to remind them at the end of the day that they need competent representation, right? Yeah.
A lot of people, not a lot of, like, it's like some people will say that, okay, since I work from home, it's like, oh, I don't have anything else to do, might as well, like, I just sit
I'll
all
take the
day.
appointments,
Yeah,
answer
I'll
the
take the
door.
appointments, I don't mind, like, cause they're just.
That's why I say I will implant that. And when I see, the good thing is we need to have more sessions where we all talk to each other about our different objections. That's why I always reach out to you guys and ask you what your specific problems are. I know my last office, we got a lot of like kind of town halls where we just talked about different things that we did and sort of role played, salesperson and agent, because I don't focus necessarily on the fact that they have to handle their own appointments and their phone calls. I will insert it. I've had a lot of agents tell me that when we talk about how to overcome this FSBO, right? Objection. I find the most powerful thing is reminding them that they have nobody representing their interests at the end of the day in a really large transaction, and lots of things can go wrong, right? Lots of things. We're professionals, and even every now and then, we may overlook something, right? And we're used to seeing these clauses every day to make sure that they're being protected. But generally, we know when when the buyer agent comes to us, the buyer agent puts a schedule in. What are those clauses? Those clauses are protecting their client. They're not putting clauses in to protect our seller, right? It's our duty to protect our seller with our Schedule B and reading over their Schedule A's to make sure that there's nothing funny in there for our clients. So I always remind them at the end of the day, the biggest thing is that you're not paying. You're gonna pay the agent representing the buyer you're paying for that person to be protected in this transaction, but you're not paying for yourself. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? So that when you speak to people like that, they kind of realize what they're doing now. They think they're being really savvy and shirking the commission. What do? We just throw it up on MLS and hope it sells, right? We're not doing anything at the end of the day. Well, we all know how busy we are, how we're running, and how we're reading contracts, and you get so many offers, and we're looking at all the little clauses with a fine-tooth comb, making sure there's nothing tricky in there for our clients. So we have to remind them that it's absurd that you're paying for someone else to be protected and not for yourself to be protected in the transaction. So how's everybody online? Everybody got any objections there? What's the biggest thing you guys have come across in your listing appointments? Nothing? FSBO. FSBO's a big one, but FSBO's really good. Like, anytime these guys in my old office would cold call the FSBO list, they cold call people that they see on Kijiji. Some of those guys go in and they scour Kijiji, they're scouring Craigslist, they're scouring Facebook Marketplace. you get appointments if you cold call them. Because especially if you catch the ones that are just tired and they've been up for a few weeks, you can definitely have a good chance to convince them. And you just tell them it's a good way to come in. So if they're FSBO and they're up, a good way to handle that objection is to say, I have buyers looking in that area. I'd love to come in and view your property so I can speak intelligently about what it looks like from the inside and see which client's needs it's going to suit. Okay, great. That's a little better way than going and trying to like force the listing. Once you're in front of them and they get to know you and they get to see you and you guys are having a good conversation, that's when you can start trying to close and try to get the listing, right? Once you're face to face, you're never going to close anything on the phone. So your objective is to always get a face-to-face appointment with people, right? When you're cold calling, you're always trying to say, can I come tonight? Can I come tomorrow? Can I come sometime soon? Strike while the iron's hot and try and get into that FSBO. Right? Okay, let's see here. We've got 15 minutes. We'll see what other good ones are. I need to net this amount in order to move. I have to be at my new job in 90 days, but I can't afford to buy a new home if I take a loss. So, I mean, this one, basically what you're going to do is you're going to crunch the numbers for your clients at the end of the day. That's the smartest thing to do. Let's see what Mike Ferry says. He says, I can appreciate the position that you're in. Many people in our area are in the same position. And, you know, I'm curious, has there ever been a time when you knew you were going to have to make a sacrifice? I mean, you knew it was going to be tough in the end. After analyzing all your options, you realized there's only one thing to do. Put our head down, grit your teeth, and go for it. I don't really think this is a great approach. Mike Ferry does very well, though. There's a lot of guys who have Mike Ferry style. Just say, do it. We'll figure it out. It'll be great. Don't worry. I genuinely sit down and crunch numbers with our clients. I'll say, okay, well, how much is your mortgage? Okay, great. So you're going to sell for approximately this much. Okay. So you're going to end up with $150,000 in pocket and your next purchase is going to be $600,000. Okay. So you want to get a mortgage for $450,000, basically. Now, what's your income? What's your credit? We as agents know generally how to crunch those numbers. We're not mortgage agents. Don't guarantee them anything. Put them in touch with a mortgage agent or tell them to take those numbers to their bank and figure things out and definitely see and just put their mind at ease, because a lot of them, the process is really overwhelming. They say they did a survey once and it was something funny like, what are the top 5 scariest things? And the first one was like death and the second was selling property. People are like generally, you find especially first-time home buyers and first-time sellers when they haven't sold, you know, these old people who've owned the home for 40 years and they're not doing real estate transactions every day. It's quite a scary process, right? So I find it just comes down to having a logical approach and sitting down and putting ease in our clients' minds to handle that objection. When you sit down and you crunch the numbers with them and you seem very confident in what you're doing and you put the mind at ease and say, don't worry, as long as we do this and we're going to take this sales, look at these are the sales of your neighborhood, you should be able to accomplish what you want at the end of the day. Right. And I can't tell you how important it is to be good to your clients like this. This is one thing that my dad always told me growing up, before I got my license, when my brother and I would help him do real estate, now doing real estate, you know what I mean? All these years, be good to your clients, right? You don't want to have to run and chase, cold call, FSBOs, door knock all day long. You only want to do those in your slow times. What you want to do is get to the point where you're 10, 15 years in the business and you're living 99% on your referral and your repeat business, right? So it's very important to be good to your clients at the end of the day and go through the whole process with them well, right? This is the FSBO one we just went over. If we have to sell that low, we'll sell it ourselves and pay 3%. So that's what we just went over about representing yourselves, right? We don't want to list at a price that will get it sold in 1 week, right? First of all, why would you tell them it was going to sell in 1 week unless they told you they needed to be gone in a week, right? But this is like, we're in a bidding war situation now, so this doesn't really work. The only reason you would get that objection is if you were getting overly egotistical or ambitious and bragging. We all know everything wasn't sitting on the market for even a few days at one point, a couple months ago, right? He says, I'd rather turn down 10 offers than never get one. I'll work with you to get the right price for your home. So I always explain the model to them. A bid war, if they're not familiar with the process, is very scary because they wonder, why, if my home could sell for $950, are you listing at $799? It makes them very nervous. And I always tell them the beginning price is not the matter, right? You could list it for $1. The objective is to get as many people in the door, because the more offers we have, the more people in the door, the more interest we have. The more interest you have, the more offers we're going to get. The more offers going to get, the more people are going to be fighting on day, the more excitement there'll be, the higher we can push up the price of your home, right? So don't be focused on that. Like I go back to the thing that everything is on online nowadays. Everybody knows the fair market price. You don't have to sell at the end of the day. If I bring you 10 offers and you hate them all, it's your commodity to sell. You don't have to sign any of those 10 offers if I don't bring you a price that you're satisfied with. So kind of calm their minds down, because I know when you want to underprice the home that your clients get very nervous, right? We can always come down and price later. So we touched on this where our client wants to overprice the home. I tell them, yeah, we can come down and price, but I make sure you warn them of the possibilities, because then what happens is you list at their price for a week or two. You say, okay, fine, and then we'll adjust it. We'll do a price change, but make sure you warn them of the pitfalls, because when you lower that price in 2 weeks, they're going to expect you to turn around and sell it like a hotcake. And now it's 2 weeks stale on the market. They've ruined your momentum from the beginning. So you have to warn them that that's a possibility, that that's going to happen for sure. We aren't quite ready yet. We need to finish a couple of projects around the house before we put it on the market. So this happens a lot. People want to do renos. I would say, I agree that making sure the house is up to par is important to you. And you probably didn't realize how little effect it'll have on getting your home sold. Let's get your home listed for sale, get some of the top brokers in town to show the house to prospective buyers and get their feedback. The good news is you'll probably find maybe only 1 or 2 of your projects actually need to get done, if any at all. I tell my clients, don't get caught in the catch-22, right? So if I walk into a home, you have to use your judgment as professionals when you're going in. If I walk into a home and it's beautiful, they just bought it 2 years, but they have young kids and the walls are a little stuffy, I tell that client, yeah, a coat of paint's going to do wonders because the rest of the house is beautiful. You don't want them to pick on little things, right? But if I walk into a home and they say, oh, you know, I want to redo, I'm going to do the paint, and then I wanted to redo the floor in the kitchen, and I look and the cabinets aren't brand new and it's, you know, not upgraded stone, I'm going to say, no, you're going to get into a catch-22. I'll tell you why. Because once you paint the wall, you do the floor is new. Now you're going to look at your cabinets. Oh, the cabinets, maybe I replaced them. Then you're going to realize your bathroom looks older than your kitchen now. And where are you going to stop, right? And a lot of times somebody coming into a home like this that needs a little upgrade, because you haven't done the kitchen in 20 years or the bathroom in 20 years, it's going to need that upgrade. People are going to want to come and do it to their taste anyway. So unless you're going to do a full renovation, in those homes that are kind of middle of the value, like middle of the road, I tell them, don't touch, we're going to put it up and sell it, right? But you have to use your judgment call. Like I say, that beautiful house that just needs a coat of paint here and there. I sold a townhouse and it was beautiful everywhere, but the toy room, I was like, you guys got to paint this toy room and get all these toys out of here. I'm like, please, because the rest of the house looks so pretty, right? Why ruin it? Why put that bad impression because of this one room, right? I'm like, it's only a week or two, we're going to put it up. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. They literally had to take, because they had toys, the little toy room had like the little kitchen sets and that, and they were all fixed to the wall. So they had to take them off, fill the holes, do the paint and everything. I said, just trust me, just this one room. If you could do this week, I really appreciate it. Tuck all these toys just in the garage for a week. I go, your kids are going to hate me, but I'll get your house sold, right? So, and they were joking after showings, they'd come home in the evenings and the little girl would be like, can you get my whatever toy from the garage? They'd have to bring it in for a few hours and put it back out, right? But they got a really good price. So yeah, you have to use your judgment and tell your clients your honest opinion. You have to be knowledgeable of what it looks like. Don't just walk through your client's home. Very often I laugh because I find I walk through my clients' houses like this because, I can see this room looks great, fine, but do I see any water damage? Is there something wrong with the ceiling? Is there any cracking happening? You guys have to notice these things so you can ask your clients these questions, right? Because once they take you through that tour, you want to say, oh, is that water damage on the ceiling? Oh, I noticed the crack in the wall there. Is that some kind of settling? Do you still have tear-on warranty if it's a new house? Are they coming to fix this? Because you want to be prepared with those for your listing, right? Will you cut your commission? We went over that one as well. Lots and lots of agents are cutting commission. So it's a hard one to combat. Why don't you advertise? I don't know why someone wouldn't advertise. We still need to interview one more agent, even after they promised you would be the last. So part of the thing I talked about last time when we were doing objection handling is try to be the last agent, right? Everybody's told to interview agents nowadays. You Google search, how do I find the best agent? Google will tell you, oh, interview more than one agent, have questions ready for them, right? So I don't know if you guys have sat down for a listing point where clients have literally had questions to ask you. So you want to make sure you're the last person. You want to make sure you're the first, because they're not going to make the decision on the first, knowing that they have 2 more agents coming in. So I say, are you interviewing more than one agent? Oh yeah. I have a guy coming from Royal LePage and a guy coming from Century 21. Okay, great. When are they coming? Tomorrow at 6, you know what I mean? And Saturday at 2. Great. Can I come Saturday at 5? Right? I always want to make sure I'm the last agent so I can close it, because you've heard what everybody else has to say, right? If it happens when you're not, you say, okay, first of all, that's not the real objection. They are just saying that to you. Maybe they don't want to close with you for some reason because they've told you you're the last agent and now you're not, right? We don't see why we should pay you money to sell our home. That's why you should leave. So what we need to do is flesh out the real objection. Use what specifically causes you to believe, but only if you're in a good rapport. Otherwise, it might be a little too strong. You kind of have to judge it. So I remember we were trying to close an appointment for 2 hours and this guy insisted that he was not going to use an agent, I think I told the story before at the last office. And then after 2 hours sitting in Tim Hortons, we came a week later, we're checking on the listing and he listed with an agent, right? So sometimes they're just not going to close at the end of the day, but we tried to close 2-3 times during that appointment, right? So you have to find out what the objection is. If they say you're the last person, what was it during your presentation? Is it the commission? Because you're sticking to 4.75, you want to shift change. Maybe you want to address the commission again if they think that you're going to stick to that and see if they'll go for a 4.5 or 4. Maybe that you didn't explain to them how much advertising. Maybe you didn't impress them with your negotiation skills. Maybe they just don't like you at the end of the day. They say people list with people they like, right? So you have to go in and you have to say, always walk in and give them some kind of nice compliment. Oh, you've got beautiful hostas in your garden. Oh, that's a great color on the wall. Oh, I love your kitchen, right? You know, you want to have a good rapport with that person, because if you come in and you're just real dry, you kind of have to match your client's enthusiasm. They say that's a good closing tactic too. If they're a really chill kind of person, you come in there and you're like, oh my God, you really have to match their personality and get in a good rapport with them to close the appointment at the end of the day. So you have to become a good mirror, right? Business transactions and closings are all about mirroring the people and the clients that you surround, right? So if they're really high energy, you want to match that. If they're really low energy, you kind of want to match that, right? You want to make them feel comfortable in your presence and like you at the end of the day, so they'll list with you, right? All right, I'm going to stop the share there. We'll go over that. We got halfway through. We got to 20. There's 40 on this thing. I can go over the next 20 next time I do objection handling. Do you guys have any questions online there? Everybody good?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Some realtor, they put it at, if I sell 1 month, we will buy.
We will buy, yeah.
Exactly.
So these people do have it in their contracts. They're usually agents that have it set up so they can, but I have seen some of their contracts and they're usually not buying for top dollar. So their clients really have to read that contract, because they're not going to buy if they can't turn around and make a good deal at the end of the day. So they'll usually set a price with their clients ahead of time, and say, if you can't sell for $725, then, we'll get it for $690 or something like that. You know what I mean? They'll try. It's not the best, but they really do turn around and buy the houses at the end of the day. If it doesn't sell in a month.
Save money also for the commission.
Because they don't have to pay the 2.5.
Yeah.
So that's benefiting the person purchasing it, right? Yeah. So that's usually it's going to be $20,000 commission. Yeah. Well, you take that off and I'll only take 1%, and then you give me the house for this much, and they're making money on those properties. Yeah. But they know how to play the game and price it accordingly. Yeah, exactly. For sure. 100%. They know how. Yeah. They're not going to take a loss on it. They're going to buy your house and help you at the end of the day, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Other things, the closing date, you said 60, 2 months is better. Mm-hmm. Closing date, yeah.
If you're going to sell first, yeah.
Yeah, sell first. Closing date, it's better 2 months. Mm-hmm. So what happened? Some people asking they want like a 6 month or something.
I caution you of long closings, okay? Especially in markets like we're in right now. Yeah. So you remember in 2017 when the market was very similar, prices were really high, bidding wars were happening. Yeah. Anything with like 5, 6 months, 4 months, anything longer than 3 month closings, all of a sudden the market dropped. People were walking away from their deposits, because if the house has dropped $100,000, $150,000 in price and they have a $40,000 deposit in it, they go forget about it. They don't close. So I always caution about long closings. Are you calling me Seraph by accident? Seraph, it says Seraph. I always caution long closings because you don't know how the market's going to react in 6 months from now. If there's a dip in the market, then it's going to be troublesome for closing for sure. Yeah.
And then I know it's an owner responsibility for the mortgage. So in case 6 months or something, it was both agree, then who responsibility to pay the mortgage? The previous owner or the new owner?
The mortgage for what?
Pay for another 6 months, they have to pay the mortgage, no?
If you put a 6 month closing on?
Yeah.
Well, the seller has to pay the mortgage until closing.
They still own it.
Yeah, they still own the property. They have to pay. They have to pay. It's their responsibility to pay it until closing. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But otherwise, the owner, the agent had with the deal. Okay, this is a deal. Owner doesn't want to pay, okay, then the new buyer, we will pay the mortgage, return, agree, and then it's okay, nothing happens.
That's a pretty sweet deal. I've never seen that before, where the
No,
buyer
you
wants to
never
pay the
know what happens,
mortgage.
Sometimes foreign people buy or something, they have some passport problem or. visa
Anything's
problem.
possible, I guess, as long as the seller and buyer agree. Yeah.
It's a conditional,
But then what do you do if they don't pay it?
That's why you are right to return.
Mhm,
Otherwise, they have their deposit money, everything, the
Mhm.
bank, trust account, nowhere,
mhm, mhm.
So that's.
I personally haven't seen a deal like that, but like I say, as
No,
long as the
anything
seller and
can be
buyer
allowed.
agree, almost
can be
anything is
allowed.
possible in a clause. Yeah,
Yeah, if they both agree, and
yeah.
then it's a conditional, so okay, we go to that, we right to pay those conditions, just asking, is it possible, everything.
Yeah, yeah,
I know, but the market down, then it will be a problem.
yeah,
But why we should write it down, even conditional, even market drop, the
yeah.
price you have to pay. Then they get signed, then they take care of,
Absolutely.
I have a client.
What? Is everything
Buy a
okay?
house.
Yeah, I'm listening. Sorry. Oh, okay. I'll have to call them. Sorry, we just have something with a client trying to get a hold of us. Trying to get a lead livestock box code. They check the correct box with the correct code, but it's not working. The code's not working. We have a client that just closed and the lockbox isn't working for
Sorry,
them to get in.
the code isn't working. I checked that it's the correct lockbox because
Can
there's
you
like
call-
3 of them there. I checked that it's the correct lockbox code and.
This is the life of a real estate agent, right?
Yeah, should I call the listing?
Here,
agent?
yeah, I got it right here. Can you call this guy?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. Yeah, so, sorry, what were you saying, Cynthia? And I got distracted with that closing, that they can't get in their new,
Small house,
yes,
they want to buy big house,
yes.
and what is the good idea to sell it and buy it, or buy it and sell it? First.
Sell it.
Huh?
Sell it.
If I don't find the house, what can I do?
Rent.
No, you sell first, don't.
Sell
buy.
first.
What if you-
Okay, but what if you buy first and you put the house up for sale and they get less money
Yeah.
or they don't get a,
I can sell it, but you know,
No, but like-
Sell first.
but there's no,
if I sell it, if I don't find the house, what can happen?
they have possibilities. They can rent and they're not stuck. But
You secure
if
your
you
money.
buy a house, if
Yeah.
you buy a house and you don't get the money you were expecting,
Yeah.
it's possible. Anything's possible. I feel safer selling always.
Yeah.
Because
No,
if
I
my
think-
clients,
I think to buy house, after that sell it, what is no good idea?
it's not that it's not a good idea. I find it
There's more
scarier to
risk.
do. I find it a
Why
riskier
it
to
is,
do.
that's all.
Because what if, first of all, what if you don't, it takes you longer to sell the home and you have to close on the new house and you have to get an extension, so it just puts, everybody in this whole big mess, and then what if you get less money? And you don't qualify financially for the new home? Maybe you had a number that you wanted to sell your house for, so you went and you bought the next home based on that number, but you don't get that number.
Oh, okay.
So financially, you're not gonna be able to close on the new home,
Mhm.
get it?
No.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's more risk, it's better to secure your money first, you know how much you have in your bank.
And you know the closing
and then
date
you
and
know your
everything.
budget, and then
Is
that's-
this the
yeah,
wrong
and
number?
buy a house based on
The
your
the
budget.
top one,
And then
ending in
you'll do the
1288, because that just
Same
goes to
day?
the brokerage.
No, that is the problem.
I'll tell you what it is right
Yeah,
here.
why not?
Same day you're gonna do.
Everybody does it the same day, you sell your house, you close on it, and then you do the
This is
next
the agent's
transaction.
You
number.
can do 1 week, whatever you do, those
You
are my
can do 1 week, it's up to you, it's up to
Mhm.
them, but like, where are you
Yeah.
gonna stay for that 1 week?
No, what? No.
Where's your
no.
client staying for that 1
Let
week?
your
Now you're
house.
making them stay in a hotel or something.
No. You close the house, you buy the house, close it early 1 week. You can move it after your
But what
house.
if they need the house, the money from the?
You can
the-
bridge
the
it.
town?
You can bridge it for a week. You can
Oh,
bridge it
for
for a
1 week?
week.
Yeah, 1 week you can do
Oh,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I just feel more at ease when I have the sale done.
Yeah.
Because it's just the way I like to work. I feel more confident for my client, knowing how much money in hand and what the closing dates are, right? But I've done it before the other way. My client, my own cousin, I told her to sell first. She falls in love with the house, she buys it. So now you're under the pressure. Right? She just bought this big house and now I have to turn around and sell her house, right? So
That's
it's,
easy to, you can sell it anywhere.
yeah, luckily we were in a good market, but what if your client does it and your house sits on the market? What if it's February and the house is sitting, not selling, and you're getting closer and closer to the closing date? It's a little scary. It's, you know what I mean? And God forbid that you don't sell in time, they still have to close on the purchase, right? It's not, there's no right or wrong way. I'm just sort of giving you my advice, right? What I feel is a safer option. If you guys do it and you do it smoothly, that's great. I just feel a little more ease when I sell first. That's all. Everybody good online? No questions there? All right, everybody, I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good evening, everybody. Have a good week. Get some listings.